All for being here. Thank you, Kathy, very, very much. First, we're going to do a little tutorial. Pens can be goofy. You're going to want to do that with it. These pens just spin the top, and the pen will come out. All right, and this is not quite the way to begin a recorded lecture, but I love these pens. My staff found them for me because they do so many things. There's a little level inside the pen, which I love. If you want, I'm not sure when you're going to need to check something for level, but in case you do, there's a little level in there. Okay, and you have ruler, metric, and inches. So pretty neat.
And good for your cell phone.
And good for your cell phone. So they found these pens, and I'm like, I love them. So we got them so I can hand it out at moments like this. So thank you all for being here. We're going to probably spend the next 30 to 45 minutes going through content. We could talk for hours on the topic. I definitely could talk for hours on any topic, so I'm not going to have you guys asleep. So usually within 25 to 35 minutes, we should be able to get a lot of really good content in. My name is Dr. Bill Keenan. I'm a chiropractor. I'm in Limerick, Pennsylvania. My lovely wife is Dr. Karen McCormick, and I practice with her. She was here, if any of you guys were here, probably a couple months ago. She did a workshop. She's amazing. Really, really talented lady, very intelligent. She presents really, really well. So I'm not as good as her. So I'm going to do my very best today. So our topic today is reducing inflammation. And as chiropractors, we deal with inflammation all the time. If you're a doctor, period, you deal with inflammation all the time. If you're a human being, you deal with inflammation all the time, especially in our country, in the United States. So the purpose today is to talk about how can we take inflammation, okay, that occurs within our bodies, and how can we reduce it. And there's lots of different ways to go about doing that, and you're going to have choices when you leave tonight about, okay, what am I going to choose to do to reduce inflammation in my body? And we're going to, well, without giving too much away, because I'll end up going through half the slides and start moving all around. So if you can leave here tonight and do one thing differently than you were when you walked in, it's been a very successful evening, and your time has been well spent. So my ask of you is to take something that you gather from content today, okay, and every slide I present you have right in front of you, and take something from that content and make one change. Okay? And the best way to make changes that are lasting is to do one change at a time, and not try to upheave and turn over your entire life or your entire diet. Eventually you may do something like that, but my ask of you is not to do it all in one shot. Okay, take bite-sized morsels and start to research and make little changes. This is going to be an overview about what inflammation does to our bodies, okay, and what you can do mostly through diet and exercise to reduce inflammation. If you have questions as we go through, please stop and ask. Okay? I'll do my very best to answer. So, right out of the gate. Okay. All disease and diseases processes have their basis in inflammation at a cell level. So all is capitalized for a very specific reason. Heart disease. Okay. Do you think reading that statement, would you say that it's an inflammatory disease? If that statement's true, the answer is
Yes.
yes. Cancer is an inflammatory disease. Okay. If you're reading that and it's true, is cancer an inflammatory disease?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Autoimmune disorders, inflammatory processes? Yes, they are. Okay. So you name it, at a root level, okay, there's inflammation going on at a cellular level. So if disease itself, okay, and breakdown of tissue and our body's not functioning properly is due to inflammatory processes, okay, anything that we can do to reduce inflammation at a cell level is going to make you a healthier person, which means you're going to have less risk of disease itself, period. So that's a pretty powerful thing when you think about it. If you can do anything, and that's why I asked you to look at one thing tonight, to change a habit, and typically it's going to be in the realm of diet, what you eat, what you put in your body, and exercise. Make one change. If you can string others onto that as time goes on, you're going to reduce your risk of disease, period, if that makes sense. And if you have disease, okay, if you're de-inflaming, okay, you're allowing your body to fight off what you have going on in a better fashion. So really, really powerful stuff, but it's gonna come down to choices, okay, based upon good knowledge. And I would guess that as I ask some questions and you see some of the slides coming after this, you're gonna be surprised about how much you already know about de-inflaming your diet. Okay, inflammation checklist, signs and symptoms. Okay, so a lot of you are gonna go, oh my God, I have like half of those or more. I do. Okay, if you have chronic aches and pains, if you're overweight. If you're overweight right then and there, that your body is inflamed because it's working harder, okay, because we have extra fat or adipose tissue. It's hard to gain or lose weight. I have too much fat around my waist. I don't feel good when I exercise. It's not that you don't like to exercise. Okay, it's that you don't feel good. You're lethargic, you're tired. Mentally lethargic, feels run down. Best word I come up with that is there's a fog. Okay, and sometimes the fogginess in the brain is a little more accentuated than others, and you'll often find out that's after you eat certain foods if you actually pay attention, okay, to how you feel. Okay, I look or feel old for my age. I have 3 teenagers, so I think until they're out of the house, that's going to continue for me. My skin looks like it's sagging or old. So we're going to go by that. Okay. The inflammation checklist, and you guys can follow along as we go through. These are some dietary risk factors. So if you're regularly taking anti-inflammatory, anti-pain medications, okay, well, why do you take anti-inflammatories? Because you're inflamed, okay, you're in pain, which means there's inflammation of cell tissue, so Advil, ibuprofen, Motrin, steroids, those things are anti-inflammatory. Okay, when you take them, it's used to reduce pain because there's inflammation of tissue at a cell level. So if you're taking anti-inflammatories, you're by nature inflamed. That's why you're taking them. If you regularly eat refined sugar. So if you're a morning cup of coffee person, anybody morning cup of coffee person? Okay. If you have a teaspoon of sugar, okay, that's refined sugar. Okay, that's an inflammatory. If the foods that you're eating have refined sugar in it or processed sugars, okay, that creates inflammation. You regularly eat grain products. So the young man that was standing there earlier goes, "You can tell me to stop eating bread?" I'm like, "I'm not going to tell you, but it would do you well." Okay, so grain products are by nature, they're inflammatory. You can improve your process by the types of grains that you do eat, because some, like your whole grains, are better than others. But your processed white bread is going to inflame more, okay, than your whole wheat, okay, breads.
Brown rice a grain? That's not a grain.
Brown rice is not a very inflammatory grain. So brown rice, especially compared to white rice, doesn't have much on the inflammation factor list for you. Okay. You regularly eat partially hydrogenated oils or trans fats. So the best, and we'll go through this later. There's oils come in different shapes and sizes and different forms. But anything with a trans fat, you're not going to want to eat that because that creates a lot of inflammation. Your best oil in general, if you're going to eat, anybody have a guess? Olive oil. Yep. So that is a neutral or a very, very low inflammatory oil. So if you're cooking, you're better off having olive oil, even though it's maybe a little more expensive. Going with olive oil. If you regularly eat meat and eggs, I'm fine with meat. I'm fine with eggs. What's the end of that? From what?
Grain-fed.
Grain-fed animals. Well, if grain's inflamed and the animals that are eating the grain, okay, if they're eating grain, what are they?
Inflamed.
They're inflamed. If you're eating inflamed meats, okay, and eggs, it actually it gets transferred over. So I'm great with like with chicken, and I'm great with meat as long as there's in moderation. But if you can get grass-fed or free-range chickens and eggs, you're better off with that.
And how do you know, like when you go to the grocery
Labeled.
store, like
It's labeled. Yep.
it'll say grass-fed?
Grass-fed. Yep. Grass-fed beef. It'll be labeled. Now, because it's grass-fed, it's going to be a few more dollars. So we shouldn't be eating like steak all that often or hamburgers all that often. If you're a once a weeker, I think you're doing fine with that. So if it's a couple more bucks to pay, but you're eating it with moderation, which is the way you should, you're better off with that. The same thing with eggs. Okay, you want to have eggs that are not grain-fed. Question.
Then the eggs that you see at
some of the produce stands that are privately owned?
You don't know. You don't know if they're feeding them grains or not.
So they're not in-
Yeah, you don't, they may or may not be, but you're not sure.
You have to ask them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and nowadays, a lot of people are posting that information because they know they get a premium price
they get a
for,
premium price and they're happy to do
for
so.
range, free
Philosophically,
range,
that's
yeah.
what they believe anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. There's a place right by me in North Coventry called Jack's Farm. It's right at 724. Their stuff is organic. It's my neighbor. Like, it's literally right behind me.
Yeah.
They sell at the Phoenixville Farmers Market
Yes, you'll find it there too. Yeah.
and others as
And
well.
others, yes.
Brown eggs, they taste better than white, but is there any difference?
No,
Okay.
nope. It's just what the chickens have been eating. Okay, and hormone-free, not hormone-free, those things all make a difference. Yep. Good questions, good input, I love that. If you regularly drink or eat dairy products, that's inflammatory. And just for the record, I'm not telling everybody not to do any of these things, because then you're going, what am I gonna be eating? Okay, what can I possibly eat? My goal is, again, if you can improve upon what you're doing now, you're becoming less inflamed as a human being, you're becoming healthier, you're gonna feel better, guaranteed. So don't think that you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. However, if you want to strive towards improving and getting less and less of these things in your diet, even better, but don't blow yourself up in the process, okay? Because if you catch me out here in Phoenixville on Bridge Street, okay, and you see me like, you know, taking a piece of bread and I'm dipping it in olive oil, I'm gonna have my bread with olive oil now and then, okay? The thing is, I eat a lot less of that type of thing than I used to. And my choices with dairy have been reduced greatly. And when I am eating a steak, as often as I can, it's gonna be grass-fed. Regularly consume soy or soy products. Soy is a big inflamer. Okay, there's something called omega-6, omega-3 fatty acids. It's high in omega-6s, which is a fatty acid that actually inflames your body. So if you're a big soy person, because some people are vegan. My youngest daughter is vegan, and she ingests a lot of soy products. So with her, I have to make sure she's taking supplementation or supplements that help offset that. And we'll talk about some of those things, and one of them is fish oil. So we make sure we supplement to try and get a balance back of inflammatory versus de-inflaming.
Question if I could.
Just a couple examples of soy products. I know certain things say soy, but what products don't have that word in, or that contain a lot of soy?
So you're going to see, like, well, a lot of vegetarian things are going to be soy. Soy milk. Okay, a lot of people they don't like to drink regular milk. I think they're doing better with soy, and they are to a certain extent. So there's a lot of soy milk. You're going to see that. Tofu's, okay, things like that. So, but it'll be listed as a soy product. Yeah. Especially if you're going vegan or vegetarian, a lot of it is heavy soy based. Yeah. Good question. All right. Why so much inflammation? There's a lot of different factors, but the ones I think I'm gonna zero in on is decreased nutritional value of produce. We've been overfarming the same ground for the past 125 years. So the nutrients that we're getting out of that same ground are not the same. So a piece of a head of lettuce that came out of a patch of dirt, okay, 100 years ago, has a much higher nutritional value then than it does now, just because we keep on farming. Even though we're putting fertilizers back in, they're not the same types of fertilizers, and we're not getting the same nutrients with the fertilizers that we're putting back in. Actually, the fertilizers we use will make things grow more, but they're kind of hollow as far as nutritional value. So that's one big reason. Food choices, we've gone from more alkaline to acidic food choices. Cancer itself, okay, has a hard time existing in an acidic environment, in an alkaline environment, but we're eating things that are more acidic. So if we can go to a more alkaline diet by getting rid of inflammatory foods, one, if you have cancer, that's something you want to move towards quickly. And number two, you're just going to be healthier if you do that. Decreased activity. If anybody ever had the blessing to go to Europe, like England, Ireland, Scotland, I was there, 20 years ago. And something that really struck me, many things did, was how much people walk. In the little villages, they walk a lot. And I saw people there were like 80 or 90 years old, and they're walking everywhere, like miles and miles a day. They all look great and they were fit. They were very fit. So because of our society, the way it's put together is we drive from here, drive to there, we drive here, we drive there. We're driving so much that we don't have the opportunity or ability to walk, or we don't think about it because we've become so busy. Just increasing to 3 times a week, walking 20 minutes 3 times a week will improve your health greatly and reduce inflammation. The more we move, okay, the less inflamed we become. And it does help offset some of the things that we do dietarily. So move, move, move. Even if it's just walking, you don't have to do high impact aerobics, but the more you move, the healthier and less inflamed your tissue becomes. Food quality, what type of foods we're putting into our bodies. Primarily with that is processed foods. Anything that's processed food, like a whole food, like a banana is a whole food. Anything processed is going to tend to inflame tissue more. Meats, okay, that are processed, like sausages, and deli meats, okay, they're processed to kind of get to where they're at. They're typically going to be high inflammatory types of foods, like your Kraft macaroni and cheese that you pull out of the box, processed food. Yes. Okay. So anything that's processed is going to tend to inflame more. So you're better off with whole food products. Okay, like a tomato, like a banana, like a piece of chicken. But again, under the parameters we talked about. Question.
How dangerous is high corn
High fructose. Ooh.
syrup, which is in the salad dressings,
Yeah.
the soups,
Yep.
most of the yogurts, a lot of the breads, even when you drink soy milk, a lot of times I see,
Yes.
Flavoring and I heard that a lot of times we're suffering with a toxic liver. When I started drinking dandelion root tea, they call it PMS tea, and the green tea, it seems to have really helped me feel better.
Yeah,
Pomegranate juice,
Yeah,
even
those
though it's
things
expensive.
help purge out some of the inflammation and toxins in your body.
So how important, doctors, we could do all these things, but if we're not really concentrating on cleansing the liver, because I have a thyroid issue, and I'm finding a lot of times these diseases are misdiagnosed, and a lot of times if we could just cleanse like the lower digestive system, they say 95% of Americans have the other C, constipation.
Mhm.
I'm sorry I said it.
Yeah. You're fine with that. Okay. We're all friends here. So getting back to statement number 1 or question number 1, high fructose corn syrup is an issue. It's a really big issue in our country. So read labels. Okay, read labels. So processed foods, if there's like 4 or more things on the label that you don't understand what it is, okay, and it's supposed to be like, a banana product, but there's 5 other things along with the banana product, it's probably, there's more in it than what your body can need or does need.
And I'm
There's high
also
fructose corn syrup, it is a
I'm also
problem.
surprised with Breyer's ice cream. Believe it or not, used to be all natural. Most of Breyer's ice cream now has high corn.
Because you're reading. So we started to
Yes.
use high fructose corn syrup as a sweetener because it was less expensive in our country than just using sugar cane. So your point is well taken. It's a highly inflammatory substance. So you're much better off. Okay, if you're gonna, I'd rather just go for the white sugar than high fructose corn syrup. You're better off with that. So if you're gonna go for your sugar, just make good choices. Take out high fructose corn syrup. Read the label. Anything that just has regular sugar as compared to high fructose, go that route. Okay, you can improve yourself right there. And high fructose corn syrup is everywhere. When you're looking at buying a loaf of bread, look, and usually it's like the first 3 ingredients, and make sure you get a bread without high fructose corn syrup. It's everywhere.
Like Arnold's is good.
What's that?
Arnold's is
Arnold's doesn't. That's one of my favorites. Okay, so good point to bring up. High fructose is a very high. I can do a lecture on that. Wherever you can, take it out of your diet. Okay, that's just simply by reading a label. You'll see that there. My son, he loves Coke, but he knows he can't drink too much of it. One, I won't let him. And so he's kind of caught on to that. But when he has a Coca-Cola, they were high fructose corn syrup. However, okay, we found him. Don't take this the wrong way. He's taken Mexican Coke now. Okay, not cocaine. Okay, okay. He's taking Mexican Coca-Cola, and they sell it now in some of the giants, and they have it at Costco. So Mexican Coca-Cola is no high fructose corn syrup, and it's sugar. So he doesn't drink too many of them because I don't want him drinking too much sugar. However, if you're going to have the Coke, go for the one with the regular sugar. as compared to high fructose corn syrup. So, and the taste is actually, he likes the taste a lot better too.
Is
So,
it made in Mexico?
it's made in Mexico, yeah, it's made in Mexico.
By Coca-Cola?
By Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola, you can find the same product, and it's made differently all around the world, because there's such slightly different tastes. So the Mexican Coca-Cola, they'll get, when you go out and tell people, I'll get some Mexican Coke. Okay, they show up at your door.
It's got the same,
Don't use my name,
it
okay?
has the same old bottle.
Okay, yes,
Really?
yeah, it's the same bottle.
It's
It's
the-
really neat, really interesting. So it's, yeah, so you can get Mexican Coca-Cola, okay, which if you're gonna go for it, you're better off going that way. Okay, inflammation, omega-6s, which I mentioned earlier. There's an excess of omega-6 fatty fats in the body, which are, omega-6s are bad, omega-3s are good. Okay, omega-6 bad, omega-3 good. And omega-6s promote inflammation, contribute to joint pain, arthritis, disease, period. So, the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 should not be higher than 6:1, ideally 3:1. So omega-6 bad, omega-3 good. So the American diet, the typical ratio is 30 to 50:1, and it should be 3:1. Okay, because of things like high fructose corn syrup, processed foods. So things that are high in omega-3s. Don't let it go in there. Okay. It could be all day on that. Things that are that have higher omega-6s or more inflammatory. We talked about grains and grain products. Okay, but you're better off with whole grains. Okay, which are going to be have a better ratio of omega-6 to 3. Okay, trans fat oils we talked about. Vegetable oils are going to be high in omega-6s. So if you're going to go with oils, you're much better off again with olive oil.
Is canola oil considered
Canola?
canola?
Canola doesn't, actually, that's a wonderful question. And I learned this just about a year ago. Canola, there is no canola seed. There's no canola plant.
No.
It doesn't exist. Canola is a man-made oil.
No.
So it's not naturally occurring, so canola oil is not a good one. Yeah, great question. Yeah, I got educated on that one.
I think canola comes from a plant. It's
Comes from
not
a
called
plant.
canola.
Yeah, it's not called canola, yeah. But
You
it's
just-
high in omega-6.
Yeah, okay, I thought you said that it was a
Yeah, so
man-made
I did,
oil, not from.
so, thank you for the update on that. But it's high in omega-6 or bad, bad trans fats.
Some of the cans of oils, they have so many different oils mixed together. And my concern is when I was growing up, we never heard of children or adults being allergic to peanuts. Is it, doctor, possibly the methodology of roasting the peanuts in a different type of oil that could possibly be creating the allergies? There's not the pure oils like we used to have.
There are possibilities. Also, there's some other, without going too deep into
No,
it,
no.
there's, that's a possibility, because it is true, there weren't as many peanut allergies. Some vaccines, okay, have, there's a peanut oil used in them. And the number of vaccines that are given now to children, it's about 60 to 80 within the first 2 years of life, as compared to 5 or 6 when I grew up. So I'm not slamming, I'm not going down that path. But there's
Thank you.
other possibilities that do exist with that. That's all, by the way.
And also the preservatives that they add in the immunization shots, that I heard that there have been diagnosed that there are pockets of children that come down with attention deficit disorder, and they're trying to make the vaccines last longer, more preservatives within.
You're well-read. I could spend hours on that one.
Well, next time,
Yeah,
please come back.
I could spend hours on that one, and I'm not anti-vaccine. However, there's a lot of knowledge that people should be more aware of. And I just will say, if you want to research something about that, which most people aren't even aware of, is in 1986, there was a fund started by the federal government called, it's the vaccine, for vaccine damaged children.
Vaccine what?
For vaccine damaged children. So 1986, they started because and just a moment to digress, the fund was started by the federal government because the makers of vaccines were getting sued at such a high rate and were paying out so many dollars, they said, we're not doing this anymore. And the federal government said, okay, we're going to make it so that you can't be sued directly. They'll have to sue the federal government, and there's a fund set up for that. And in the past 20 years, I think they paid out $20 billion, and then if you put that together with only 3 to 5% of vaccine damaged children are actually being reported. So there's some concerns, and people think that people are crazy that are worried about vaccines. There's some things that there is concerns that should be looked at. So thank you
I'm
for asking
worried
the
more
question.
about getting the measles and the mumps, because I remember having them when I was little, and I almost died from the measles, so.
Right, yeah, so there's a lot to it.
Yeah,
And
there's-
I'm not saying pro or con, I'm just saying it's good to be educated, because some people are vaccine sensitive, and other people really aren't. So there's a lot to know with that stuff. Thank you for asking the question. I'm sorry to digress on that, but it was worth taking a moment to talk about. So, get into that. Okay. So, grains, and some of the reasons why they're inflammatory, and some grains that are more inflammatory than others. Wheat, rye, barley malt, semolina, spelt, kamut, and couscous. And I'm not saying, again, we can't have any of these things in our diet. However, let's just be, when you're eating any grain products, if your diet is primarily grain-based, you're gonna be more inflamed. You're going to be. So if we can find a better balance, again, like it's that omega-3, omega-6, good, bad, okay, fatty acids. So there's nothing wrong with having a little bit, but if you're out of balance with how much large amount of grain, my oldest daughter, I call her the carb queen. Well, she wants to eat her carbohydrates, which are grains and such. So she's too inflamed. I try and have the conversations with her. Our father, knucklehead, I don't know anything. Hopefully one day it sinks in and she starts to take it in a little bit more and make some changes. That's my hope and wish. Okay, here's where we should be next, and spending more time. Okay, what are some anti-inflammatory foods? And if you think about it, close your eyes and start to say, if I asked you, what foods are probably best for you? You would probably come up with most of the things on this list. Okay, so all fruits and vegetables, okay, are going to be good. They're whole foods. They're naturally anti-inflammatory in process, and not, well, most of them are. Red and sweet potatoes are anti-inflammatory. Your regular white potatoes are more inflammatory. It doesn't mean you can't eat them, but the better is going to be red and sweet potatoes. Fresh fish. Again, same as the cows and chickens. You're better that they're caught in the wild. A lot of fish are produced in fish farms, and they're fed grain, okay, in a tank. So, which means they're inflamed. Yeah, meat, chicken from grass-fed animals, wild game, okay, deer. I love venison, okay, it's like really lean meat, okay, and it doesn't have antibiotics or hormones in it. Some people don't care for the taste all that much. However, wild game is really great for you. Water, stop right there, okay? If you can drink more water, you're not drinking enough right now, you are helping to de-inflame your body and counteract some of the effects of some of the things you may be ingesting. And what's a good amount of water to drink per day?
Half your body weight.
You got it, half your body weight in ounces. Okay, if you're doing that, you're doing great. If you're not doing that and you want to improve, that's a goal to strive for. Half your body weight, okay, in ounces. And why do we say that? Simply because if somebody weighs 98 pounds, okay, and somebody weighs 300 pounds, okay, and you say, well, 6 to 8 glasses for both. Somebody might be getting just about right, but somebody might be getting cut short. Okay, who's getting cut short? The 300 pounder? Okay, you just need more water. And why? Your body's 70 to 80% water. So the more water you get in, the more toxins and garbage you can flush out of your system. And every cell in your body produces toxins and garbage. So if you drink more water, it filters those things out, and you have healthier tissue. It lowers your pH also.
Will you address at some point in your lecture the bad influence of certain medicines that really make a person bloat up? And so you might see somebody really heavy, and they're really starving their body. It's not in sync you know, it's gone in the state of
Yep.
ketosis. So some of the antidepressants or anti-fertility,
So I'll address that right now, because that could be a whole nother lecture. But anytime we take a medication, if you just visualize a scale, you as a consumer of a medication should be researching, okay, or having somebody help you research. One, you got a list of like, why am I taking it? So, and if the reason you're taking it outweighs the reasons, the contraindications or the side effects, okay? Like if you're a type 1 diabetic, do you need insulin? It means you're insulin dependent diabetic. So you better take your insulin or you're gonna die, okay? If you're type 2 diabetic, okay, that means a lot's in your control. What if you're type 1, it's in your control too. But if somebody's a type 2 diabetic, but they don't have to have insulin, they may be on a metformin where they're taking it orally. If you're 40 pounds overweight, you eat all the foods you're not supposed to eat here, and you don't exercise. Is it possible you can get off your medication if you change your lifestyle? Yes or no? Everything like that. Yes, you can. From a medication standpoint, medications have all kinds of side effects, and some of them are quite terrible. And people may be taking multiples of medications, and we don't know how they all interact together, and they all have side effects which are negative. So anytime we can reduce or get off medication responsibly, we should, and a lot of that can be done by making choices in what we're talking about.
how do you debate with the doctor? A lot of times they put you on high blood pressure medicine and now they have a different formulary, but how do you argue with the doctor?
I wouldn't argue. I would educate myself walking in. If you need help educating, just by researching and finding out first from your pharmacist, hey, can you get me a list of
They're very helpful, yes.
of side effects. Your
Yes.
pharmacists know more than your doctors do typically. So you do that, and you use the Google machine. You start to find out, and then you can start to ask questions of your doctor that they can start to answer. And if you have concern, hey, I think I may be on, I'd like to get off some of these things. What do you think? If they're good, most of them are, what they're going to tell you is diet, exercise, okay, and nutrition. So if you start de-inflaming your tissue, if you start drinking more water and exercising, a lot of medications you can start to like either get off or reduce the amount that you're on. So that would be my answer to that question.
A good resource is through the Chester County Library System website. There's a consumer health database.
Really?
Yes,
I
and
love
it's
it.
free to use.
Consumer health
You may need
database.
to use your
Library?
library card number.
Okay.
But that's a very good resource, rather than just Googling.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
do Google, make sure
Be
that it's
careful
an
with
authoritative resource, like the
Yes.
Cleveland Clinic or the Mayo Clinic.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Very well put.
Yes.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you. That's learned something new.
What is that again?
It's a consumer health database.
Chester County, did you say? Chester County?
Yes, under the Chester County Library System website, under resources and databases.
And while I'm on it, while you guys are writing, there is a wonderful book, okay, by a colleague of mine. He wrote it, and he's put his life into, his adult life into inflammation and de-inflaming. The book is called The D-Flame Diet. D-Flame Diet. Okay, his name is Dr. David Seaman, S-E-A-M-A-N. You can find it on Amazon. It's like $24. A great read. Very, very, very informative, insightful about things you can do to de-inflame and why it's important to do so. And a lot more depth than we're getting into here, but very, very, but understandable depth. So a very good read.
How's that name spelled?
S-E-A-M-A-N.
David?
Yep, David
Thank you.
Seaman. Yep, and that know him well. Good guy. Salad dressings. Best ones, here we go. Extra virgin olive oil, balsamic vinegar, lemon juice, mustard. Okay, all de-inflaming. Raw nuts, almonds, cashews, walnuts, hazelnuts, pistachios, Brazil nuts, macadamia nuts. Fantastic. All they're good omega sources of omega-3, good fatty acids, and you get some good protein from them also. Really good snacks. Like I love cashews. As a snack, I keep them next to my desk. So rather than me reaching for, like I used to, some kind of sugary thing to put in my mouth, which actually makes me more hungry, I have a big jar of cashews from Costco. Every time I get a couple cashews, it satisfies me. I get protein. I'm healthier because of that. Spices. These are really strong anti-inflammatories, these simple cooking spices. So either cook with them, or you can get a lot of them in a capsule form, and they're very inexpensive. Ginger, turmeric, These are all, you'll find them, they're in the slides here. That slide is up here. Garlic, dill, oregano, coriander, fennel, red chili pepper, basil, rosemary, all strong anti-inflammatories. So now the warning is, some people just go, okay, I'm just gonna take that and I'm not gonna change anything else. So that's good, but the best way, okay, to really make the biggest impact is to start like with diet and then add these things in also. But if you're saying, hey, I just wanna start somewhere, then you can take these things in the capsule form, and again, very inexpensive. The one, my favorite is turmeric, potato turmeric or turmeric. That's about 400 milligrams a day. They come in capsule form, like really, really good. Oils and fats, organic butter. No question.
Can you use the spices from the spice aisle at China or
Yeah,
whatever?
absolutely,
Is it
totally.
the same thing?
Yep, same thing.
Instead of taking the pills?
Same thing. Yep.
Okay.
And I cook also with a lot of those.
The foods that turmeric and coriander and all of those are in are just wonderful. So,
Yes.
so it's
Yeah,
really
they're
nice.
very flavorful too.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
one cooking with them too, just taking like a turmeric and a capsule form, garlic tablets. They are really, really good. You try to get the ones that you'll repeat back on. Okay, so you'll taste them after your cup of coffee in the morning. I guarantee you that. Organic butter. Okay, so if you're going to have butter, which is a dairy product, make sure it's organic butter. Okay, again, a little bit more in the dollar and cents, but organic butter is going to come something typically from a grain-fed cow. Not a grain-fed, but a grass-fed cow. No hormones, antibiotics, and butter is like distilled down dairy. So, so you want to get yourself in trouble, like the regular butter is going to have more inflammatory products content if it's not organic. So, coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil. Here we go again. Again, butter from grass-fed cows.
What is why is coconut oil good?
Coconut itself, like coconut water, coconut oil, coconut itself is a strong anti-inflammatory, high in omega-3s, low in omega-6s. So the oil from it is a distilled down, kind of like high octane form of coconut. So you can just get a little bit of it and get a big bang for your buck from an anti-inflammatory standpoint.
So, there's a product on the market called Earth Balance. Earth Balance is a plant-based type of butter. What's your opinion of that?
I haven't looked at the ingredients. I would read the label.
Yeah.
And it might, from the way it sounds, it's probably pretty righteous as far as not being high in trans fats, okay, and omega-6s. Just I would read the label. And also from a supplement standpoint, if you're choosing to take supplements, which again, they should be in addition to other good habits that you're using as far as exercise and diet, what your choices are. I just lost my train of thought because I went somewhere else. So remind me where I just was.
You were talking about the butters and eating having a supplement
Thank
along
you so
with
much.
the
So
diet.
supplements, plant-based supplements are much better. Like your Centrums, as far as multivitamins, no, not good at all. Okay, like it's petroleum-based. You end up pooping it right out without absorbing it. They're not all made the same. So anything like a plant-based supplement or vitamin is going to be much more easily absorbed, okay, than ones that are manufactured.
Does it
So-
say that on the?
Yeah, you'll see it.
Okay.
And anything with a supplement that has, if you're taking like a B vitamin, and again, it has anything more than 4 extra things that aren't vitamin B, okay, that aren't supplements or vitamins, there's too much binder in it, and your body has a harder time absorbing it. So not all supplements are created the same as far as the ability to absorb them. So it's good to go to a place where they know what they're talking about, like a Kimberton Whole Foods, Gary's World of Wellness. There's some people there that know what they're talking about. And or just research a little bit, look at the label if you're taking supplements to see if it has a lot of extra fillers or not. Question.
Gary's moved, didn't it? Were they in Eagleville?
They weren't. I haven't been down that way in a while. Did
I
they move?
think they
Yeah.
moved from there now. I don't know if they moved somewhere else.
Okay, so
but
yeah,
maybe
so,
they moved somewhere
one
else.
of my favorite
Okay.
places is Kimberton. There's
Lineville Pharmacy.
Lineville Pharmacy too. Yep. So.
Without iron.
Yep. Unless you have an iron deficiency, you're better off not having extra iron. So if you're iron deficient, you want to take something like an iron supplement. If not, you're better off not having iron in there because it reduces absorption of other supplements. So you don't have to, you picked up that right away. So what things should we be taking from a supplement standpoint if we're choosing to do so? So one is a good multivitamin, the parameters that we just talked about. Vitamin D. Vitamin D actually is, we produce it within our body, but we need sunlight to do so. So a lot of us are very, very D deficient because we don't get enough sunlight, or we're out in the sunlight, we put on, cream, to block UV. When you put on the cream, it blocks about 95% of absorption of vitamin D. So we want to get sun, but if you go out with and you want to save your skin and not have cancer, you cover up. But if you cover up, you're diminishing vitamin D. So most human beings, especially the farther north you get, it's colder, you're not outside as much even then. So, but vitamin D is an important one. Most of us are D deficient. Vitamin D3, is the best form of vitamin D to take, and typically D3 with a vitamin K binder. It's called K subscript 2 K2 D3. Okay, what's a proper amount of that to take per day? It's 200 IUs. 2,000 IUs per day. Don't take more than 4 for vitamin D.
What did you say about K?
K. Vitamin D, when it's bound, when it comes with bound to vitamin K, is the best absorbed vitamin D. So it's
I've never ever seen
K2
on the
D3.
label.
It's out there. If you go to a place like Kimberton, they ask them about it. So K2 D3.
What about the calcium pills that have D included?
Helpful also.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll absorb, but not as effectively
Mhm.
as K2 D3. But it'll still absorb pretty well.
I know somebody that they told this girl to take 50,000 units of D once a week. Are you familiar with, if somebody's so deficient of D that the doctor wants her to take?
That would be per their doctor, and the recommended is usually no more than 4. D is a non-water soluble vitamin, so
Correct.
A, D, E, and K. So, which means if you take too much, your body can't get it out.
Oh, well,
readily.
she's only taking it over like 2 months or something.
So as long as she's under medical supervision, because they're following that. But in general, no more than 4,000 microunits IUs of vitamin D should be taken
Per day,
per day.
but she's taking it once a week.
Yep. So she probably works something out with her doctor, of which I'm sure that they're monitoring. There's a specific reason for that.
Thank you.
Yep. Oh, you're welcome.
So if you're getting the D supplement, if I were to go somewhere, should I say vitamin D or vitamin D3?
You'll
Or-
see, because I would say D3. You're gonna look for a D3, and if it comes without a KK binder, that's fine. But D3 is what you want to look for. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So there's a lot of things at D3 if you're deficient. And you can musculoskeletal issues, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, fibromyalgia, heart disease, diabetes. D is an important one to make sure you have, and most Americans are walking around D deficient. Magnesium, really inexpensive, really, really important to take. It has a really, really big role in over 300 different enzymatic reactions in every cell in your body, and a lot of us are magnesium deficient. So magnesium is a very inexpensive supplement, that's important to take. Question?
I heard recently that magnesium is not readily absorbed internally.
Correct.
And
You're completely correct.
Okay.
So the best, and I wrote this down before I got here. All right,
Okay.
so we're gonna, I just timed out. So we're gonna go off of the remainder off our slides. I was under a guess there. So break this down. Magnesium gluconate, GLUCONATE. Magnesium gluconate, 500 milligrams a day. Is recommended. So the magnesium gluconate, exactly the question you just brought up, is the most readily absorbed form of magnesium.
I also heard in that same thing that it's most efficacious to take it topically. It's absorbed through the skin.
And that may very well be. I'm not educated about if that's the case or not. So
It's used a lot in Europe, apparently. From
When they take it
natural
topically.
magnesium
and
sources.
a lot of things can get are better absorbed topically through the skin, and also sublingually. And that may be one of them. I'm going to research that. So I don't have the answer for you.
What was the dosage of the magnesium gluconate?
500 milligrams. Yep.
Daily.
Daily. Yep. Fish oils. Fish oils are fantastic. They are very high in omega-3s, which is the good fatty acids. The amount of, it's great for heart health. So this is on page 8. So the amounts, if for women, it's 1,100 milligrams a day. For men, it's 1,600 milligrams per day. Okay. And children, even much less. Okay, but it's helpful for them to take it. That's 500 milligrams. Little trick with fish oil. Some people have a hard time taking it because they burp it back up all day. That was me. So certain brands are made where they take they're less likely to do that. Number two is put them in the freezer, okay, and take them out of the freezer and then take them. When they're frozen, it takes a little bit longer for them to break down the stomach, and they're starting to move through the intestine. You're less likely to burp it back up. Sorry, yeah, it's not a fun experience to burp up fish oil all day. Trust me. So freezer is helpful with that, but fish oil is really helpful and important for heart health. And again, it helps get a better balance between the omega-3s and omega-6s because it's so high in omega-3s. And really helpful, especially again for heart
You
health.
can get flavored, you know.
Yeah, you can get
and
flavor
it's-
too. Yeah,
it's
like
much more pleasant to burp up.
yes, it's you are completely correct.
More fish.
Yep. Some other supplements that are helpful. And again, you can supplement yourself into bankruptcy. So be choosy what you choose to do. And supplements are there to, in addition to a good diet. The healthier the diet, the less supplementation you will need. And supplements can't do it alone. I want to make sure I stress that point. Probiotics are really helpful. So you can take probiotic in a capsule form, so you're not getting in. Yogurt has probiotics, but if you're eating a lot of yogurt, you're also eating a lot of dairy. But if you're going to have something dairy, well, I'd rather have you have yogurt, okay? Because you're going to get a good source of protein and it's very high in probiotics, or have it in a capsule form. B complex is going to one help with a lot of energy. So a B complex is really helpful to take also, and it's very inexpensive. Okay, one of my favorites is coenzyme Q10, CoQ10. It's an enzyme that helps enzymes speed up reactions. So CoQ10 speeds up the process by which your body transfers energy from food into usable energy called ATP. So your cells can actually use that energy to do what they need to do. If anyone is on a statin drug, a cholesterol drug, and they're not taking CoQ10, please start doing it now. Because when you take a statin drug, it lowers the amount of natural CoQ10 in your system up to 30%. Some studies say even higher. And so that's why some of the symptoms of statin drugs are muscle pain, muscle aches, fatigue, tiredness, because you're reducing your body's usable amount of energy production. So if you're taking a statin drug, it's important, okay, that you take CoQ10.
And it comes in that form, CoQ10?
CoQ10, yeah, coenzyme Q10. That one's a little higher on the food chain as far as expense. They are a little more expensive. There's not major differences between labels, so you shouldn't go out and think you're buying the Cadillac when it's pretty much the same as the Chevy. So they're all made in like 5 basic manufacturing places around the world, and they're all made about the same way. So getting something from Costco as compared to like a high-end something off the internet, you're going to be fine with Costco. So coenzyme Q10 is important.
So why don't your doctors tell you to take it?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So I'll give it a short on that, okay, so we keep within our within that. I don't bore you all too much. So when the first statin drug was manufactured, well, when they did their research on it, they realized right out of the gate through clinical studies that it was lowering the amount of CoQ10 in cells in human beings. So they had 2 patents. One was for the statin drug without CoQ10, and one was the CoQ10 binder. The CoQ10 binder, the manufacturing costs, it just raised them. So they just said, hey, from a dollar-cent standpoint, we're not going to do that, which is completely fine. The issue is that they didn't release that information and data to cardiologists, and they didn't release the information and data to general practitioners. They didn't release that information to the general public. So it was just silly, because there's no reason. It was nothing nefarious. It was
How do you know?
Stupidity. You can read up on it.
I have.
Oh, you can. Oh, not
You have a
nefarious.
much more sanguine.
Oh, okay.
data
The
than
nefarious
I-
part. I guess in my mind, I'm going like, well, there's no like, why would they do something like that? Because there's not a monetary gain unless you actually want to create more sick people. I may have just answered my own question. Okay, so, but CoQ10.
There's a lot of drugs out there
Okay.
that aren't very
Yeah.
good for people.
Boatload.
Most of them.
Boatload. So,
Yes.
well, I'll get on that.
And they know what they're doing.
And they do, you are correct. CoQ10, to wrap it up, important to take, okay? Really, really important to take. If you're an adult, really good for heart health. It does help with energy production, and it has a lot of really good things that it does beyond that. But if you're on a statin drug, or anybody you know, they have to be on it, and 200 milligrams a day. Okay, they usually come in 100 milligram capsules. If you're an adult that's not on a statin drug, 100's great. If you're on a statin drug, you should be taking 200 milligrams per day. Okay. So, and from a medication standpoint, and not throwing stones here, but the number 3 cause of death in our country every year for the past 20+ years, USA Today, it's usually on the 4th or 5th page back, is adverse reactions to prescription medications, where it wasn't manufactured improperly, it wasn't taken improperly, it wasn't administered improperly, it was for the right reason that the drug was given because it was indicated, and over 100,000 people per year for the past 20 years have died because it just happened. That's a lot of people. That's why it's so important that we really look at what are you taking, why are you taking it, what are the possible side effects, so we can be educated about if I'm taking something and I should know what the side effects are in case I start to experience them. I know to go and tell my doctor, hey, there's something's wrong here. And then when you get into multiples, where some people are on like 5, 10, 12 different medications, there's no way any human being ever, the smartest person in the world, can figure out how they're all interacting together. So medications, they're there. My view is they're good to have available. They should be used for emergency situations for short periods of time to hopefully get through a crisis, and then you try and get off them as quickly as possible. And one of the ways to do that is de-inflaming your body, drinking a lot of water, exercising. So, and there's some medications people have to be on. Got it, completely good. But we consume half the world's pharmaceuticals in our country. And now we're ranked 42nd among civilized countries in overall health. So our answer to our health problem continues to be more medications. And yet we keep on slipping further and further and further back into the overall health. We have the best sick care in the world. If you have a disease, if you have a sickness, if you have a heart attack, a stroke, you hack off a limb, you want to be in this country because we're going to, in an emergency, take care of you better than anywhere else in the world. But we don't have health care. We have emergency care. Health care is being proactive rather than reactive. Health care is teaching people and spending dollars, okay, on prevention, okay, and teaching children how to read labels when they're shopping for food, how to reteach adults how to read labels, how to eat properly and exercise. So 95% of our dollars are spent on people after they're sick in our country. That's not health care, that's sick care. So I'm sorry I'm on a little soapbox here, okay, but it's true, and that you're all here is a testament to you're spending time to be proactive, to learn more about how to be healthier and take less medications and not more. So I'll get up a soapbox. All right. Okay, one more question.
I understand Americans combine too many foods at once. Over in Europe, they'll eat maybe 12 courses, or I don't know how many courses, but I understand that a lot of times we're toxic because we'll mix a fruit product with a protein product. The fruit should be eaten separate. After 20 minutes, it kind of goes through the alimentary canal. If we mix protein, it takes hours to digest. So sometimes
There's certain things.
we should not be combining all these foods at once.
More
Possibly.
simple is better. I would say yes, and not eating a whole bunch at one time, especially inflammatory foods.
Just like sandwiches, you know, we
Yep.
just throw it, and part of the digestive health is to eat slow.
Oh, yeah,
It starts in the mouth.
Chew your food, but the
And
whole,
how, we just throw
we
it
live in a
down.
fast food,
We just throw it
fast-paced
down.
environment.
And then we have the big C, the
Yeah,
constipation.
so, and I would agree with all of that. So slow down, chew your food, really, really important. So, wrapping it up. Okay. I'm gonna flip through a couple things here. Let's go to page 11. Okay, I want to summarize. If you're gonna take a few things away from a bullet point standpoint, here's your bullet points. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Okay, avoid processed and prepackaged foods. Eat grass-fed versus grain-fed beef and dairy. Okay, so I'm not saying you don't eat those things, but if you're gonna do it, if you can spend a couple extra dollars, even if it's just every other, meal you may have that may be dairy or be a burger or a steak. Right, if I'm gonna have a burger in Collegeville, anybody know what we're gonna talk about? Okay, there's a burger place in Collegeville, okay, and they're all it's all grass-fed beef. Okay, and their French fries are all olive oil.
Well, what's the name of the place?
My son loves it, and I'm forgetting it. It's in the Collegeville, where the movie tavern is. I can't gracious.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's a
Town
burger-
center,
Yes, and
What is it?
I can't believe I can't remember. the
town
name.
center
Pro-
shopping.
Shopping center.
Oh.
There's a place in there, and.
Oh, Elevation Burger?
Elevation. Thank
Of
you
course.
so much.
Grain fed, yes.
Yes,
Oh.
grain
Yeah.
fed. So if you're gonna go for a burger, take the ride there. Okay, very reasonably priced, and the taste is amazing. Okay, that's a difference. So Elevation Burger, and again, fries. If you're gonna go for the fries, if you gotta have them, olive oil. Okay, and their taste is absolutely wonderful also. So avoid wild versus farm-fresh, farm-raised fish. Avoid or diminish bread spreads, pastas, white flour, okay, white sugar. If it didn't grow on the ground or have a grass-fed wild mother, don't eat it. Okay. Okay. So thank you all for being here tonight. That's a lot of territory to cover in an hour. I think we did pretty well with it. It's a start. Okay, this is information to start with. And if, again, my ask of you is take one thing and do one thing differently and start with that, and you've already become healthier because of it. All right? Thank you all for being here.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.